Everyone thinks marrying into a rich family is a fairy tale come true, but nobody talks about what happens when you find out you are just a pawn in their twisted little game. My name is Maya, and for the last 6 months, I have been playing the role of the broke, pathetic charity case. I wear clothes from thrift stores, I drive a beat-up Honda that sounds like a lawnmower, and I let the Sterling family treat me like I am absolutely nothing. They think they pick me because I am easy to control. They think I am just some desperate girl looking for a meal ticket. They have no idea that I could buy their entire company with the money sitting in just one of my investment accounts. See, the Sterlings are what you call fake rich. They have the mansion, the fancy cars, and the country club membership, but behind closed doors, they are drowning. They are desperate. And they needed a placeholder. Someone to keep their son, Liam, looking respectable and taken while they secretly negotiated a marriage merger with the daughter of an oil tycoon to save their failing empire. I was the distraction. I was the disposable fiancée. It started on a Tuesday afternoon. I was sitting in the living room of the Sterling estate. It was this massive, cold room filled with furniture you were scared to sit on. Mrs. Sterling, my future mother-in-law, walked in with a garment bag. She looked at me like I was a stain on her expensive rug. "Here," she said, tossing the bag at me. It landed on the couch. "Try this on. It is for the engagement party this weekend. Do not rip it." I unzipped the bag. It was a dress, but it was hideous. It was this pale, sickly green color with cheap lace that looked itchy just looking at it. It looked like something a grandmother would wear to a funeral in the 80s. "It is beautiful, Mrs. Sterling," I lied, keeping my voice soft and small. "Thank you so much." "Do not thank me," she snapped. She took a sip of her iced tea, the ice clinking against the glass. It was on clearance. "We are on a budget, Maya, though I doubt you understand what a budget looks like when you have actual assets to manage. Just make sure you get your hair done professionally. I do not want you looking like a stray dog in front of our investors." I just nodded. I wanted to laugh. I really did. The dress she was wearing cost maybe $600. The watch on my wrist, which I kept hidden under the sleeve of my oversized sweater, was a limited edition Patek Philippe worth more than her car. But I kept my mouth shut. I needed them to keep underestimating me. I needed them to think I was weak. Liam walked in a few minutes later. He was handsome in that generic, rich guy way. Perfect hair, expensive suit, dead eyes. He did not even look at me. He went straight to the bar cart and poured himself a drink. "Liam, honey," Mrs. Sterling said, her voice changing instantly to something sweet. "Did you call the florist?" "Yeah," he muttered. He took a long drink. "Mom, are we sure about the guest list?" "The Vanderbilts are coming." "Of course they are coming," she hissed, glancing at me. "That is the whole point. We need to show them that the family is stable. That you are settling down. Once the merger is signed next month, we can deal with other arrangements." She did not say my name, but the way she looked at me made it clear. I was the arrangement they were going to deal with. I was the prop. I stood up, holding the ugly dress. "I am gonna go try this on," I said. "Just go," Liam said, waving his hand dismissively. "And Maya, try to do something about your face before Saturday. You look tired." I walked to the guest room they let me stay in. As soon as I closed the door, I dropped the act. I pulled out my phone. It was a burner, not my real phone. My real phone was hidden in the lining of my suitcase. I took out the real one, a sleek black device with top-tier encryption, and dialed. "Hey, it is me," I said. "Miss Thorne," the voice on the other end answered immediately. It was David, my head of security and private investigator. "We have the documents you asked for." "Tell me," I said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "It is worse than you thought," David said. "The Sterling Group is not just broke. They are criminal. They have been laundering money through a shell company in the Cayman Islands to hide their losses. They have embezzled employee pension funds to pay for their lifestyle. And Liam? He has been seeing Vanessa Vanderbilt for 3 months. The engagement to you is purely to keep the press off his back about his gambling debts until the Vanderbilt money clears. I felt a cold smile spread across my face. So, I am literally a human shield. Exactly, David said. If they drop you now, the scandal of a broken engagement might spook the Vanderbilts. They need you to play the happy, submissive little wife until the ink is dry. Then they are going to dump you with nothing. They are gonna try, I corrected him. David, send me everything. The bank statements, the emails, the text messages between Liam and Vanessa. I want it all compiled into a presentation. You are going to do it at the party? David asked. I stood up and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked plain. Boring. Weak. Exactly what they wanted to see. Oh yeah, I said. I am gonna burn this whole house down. The next few days were a masterclass in humiliation. I had to endure fittings where the seamstress, paid by Mrs. Sterling, poked me with pins and made comments about my waistline. I had to sit through dinners where Liam openly texted Vanessa under the table while I pretended not to notice. One night, I was in the kitchen getting a glass of water. It was late, maybe 2 a.m. I heard voices coming from the study. I crept closer, my socks silent on the hardwood floor. The door was cracked open just a sliver. I cannot believe we have to invite her parents, Liam was saying. He sounded disgusted. They are going to show up in a pickup truck, Dad. It is embarrassing. We have to keep up appearances, Mr. Sterling said. His voice was rough, like gravel. Look, son, just grit your teeth. Once we get the Vanderbilt capital, we pay the girl off. Give her 10 grand and tell her to get lost. She is poor. 10 grand will look like a lottery win to her. She will take it and run. 10 grand? Liam laughed. That is pathetic. But fine. Whatever. I just hate looking at her. She is so simple. She has no class. Vanessa is fire. Maya is just lukewarm water. I leaned against the wall, listening to them discuss my price tag. $10,000. That was what my dignity was worth to them. I spent more than that on a weekend trip to Paris last month. It was funny, really. They thought they were the kings of the world, moving pieces on a chessboard, but they did not realize they were playing against a grandmaster. I went back to my room and opened my laptop. I had access to their home network. It was shockingly easy to hack. Their password was literally their last name followed by the number 1. For a family trying to hide millions in fraud, they were incredibly stupid. I started digging. I found the emails confirming the payoff plan. I found the messages where Mrs. Sterling called me a peasant and a useful idiot. I found the financial records showing they had not paid their staff in 2 months, yet Mrs. Sterling had just bought a $50,000 handbag. I saved everything. Every single receipt. The morning of the engagement party arrived with a heavy gray sky. The house was chaotic. Caterers were running around, florists were bringing in massive arrangements of white lilies, and a string quartet was setting up in the ballroom. Mrs. Sterling found me in the hallway. I was wearing a t-shirt and jeans. Why are you not dressed? She screeched. People will be arriving in 2 hours. I am going, I said, keeping my head down. I just wanted to ask, is there any way my parents could sit at the main table? Mrs. Sterling laughed. It was a harsh, barking sound. Your parents? At the head table? Maya, do not be ridiculous. The head table is for important guests. The Vanderbilts. The senators. Your parents are being seated near the kitchen doors where they will be comfortable. We do not want them feeling out of place among the elite. Right, I said. Of course. And Maya, she added, stepping closer. Her perfume was overpowering. Tonight is about Liam. It is about the Sterling legacy. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not tell any of your little stories about growing up on a farm or whatever it is you people do. Just smile, wave, and look grateful. I looked her dead in the eyes for the first time. I am very grateful, Mrs. Sterling. You have no idea. She blinked, seemingly taken aback by my tone, but she brushed it off and stormed away to yell at a waiter. I went upstairs to get ready. But I did not put on the ugly green dress. I walked over to the closet where I had hidden my own garment bag. I unzipped it. Inside was a custom-made gown from a designer in Milan. It was midnight blue, silk, and fit me like a second skin. It screamed money. It screamed power. I sat at the vanity and did my own makeup. No more pale, tired girl. I did a sharp winged eyeliner and a bold red lip. I pulled my hair back into a sleek, high ponytail. I put on the diamond earrings I had inherited from my grandmother, real diamonds, not the cubic zirconia Liam had given me for the engagement ring. I checked my phone. David sent a text. The projector is rigged. You have control. Game time. I waited until the party was in full swing. I could hear the music and the chatter downstairs. I knew everyone was there. The business partners, the rivals, the press, and of course, the Vanderbilts. I walked to the top of the grand staircase. Below me, the ballroom was packed. It was a sea of tuxedos and gowns. Liam was standing near the front, laughing with a tall, blonde woman. Vanessa. Mrs. Sterling was holding court with a group of elderly women, probably bragging about the merger. I took a deep breath. This was it. I started walking down the stairs. The sound of my heels clicking on the marble echoed. At first, no one noticed. But then, one person looked up. Then another. Then the room started to go quiet. It was not just the dress. It was the way I walked. I was not the shy, stumbling girl anymore. I was walking like I owned the place. Because, technically, looking at their debt-to-equity ratio, I could own the place by tomorrow morning if I wanted to foreclose on them. Mrs. Sterling turned around. Her jaw literally dropped. She looked at the dress, then at my face, and I saw the confusion morph into anger. She started marching toward the bottom of the stairs to intercept me. What do you think you are doing? She hissed as I reached the bottom step. She was trying to keep her voice down, but she was vibrating with rage. That is not the dress I gave you. You look like you are trying to upstage the bride. I am the bride, I said calmly. Or at least, I am supposed to be. Go change immediately, she whispered furiously. You are embarrassing us. No, I said. I do not think I will. Liam came over, looking annoyed. Maya, what is this? You look different. I looked at him. Really looked at him. He looked small. I felt like dressing up, I said. It is my engagement party, right? Vanessa Vanderbilt walked up behind him. She looked me up and down with a sneer. So this is the little fiancé? Cute. Nice knockoff dress, sweetie. I smiled at her. It is a custom Versace, one of one. But I would not expect you to know that, Vanessa. I heard your daddy just cut off your credit limit. The room went dead silent. People nearby gasped. Vanessa's face went red. Excuse me? She sputtered. Liam grabbed my arm. His grip was tight, painful. You need to shut your mouth right now and go upstairs. You are drunk or something. Get your hand off me, I said. My voice was not loud, but it was cold enough to freeze hell. I pulled my arm away. I walked past them, straight to the stage where the band was playing. The lead singer looked confused, but I took the microphone from the stand. The feedback whined for a second, making everyone wince. I stood there, center stage, looking out at the hundreds of faces. I saw Mrs. Sterling making a slashing motion across her throat, telling me to stop. Mr. Sterling was signaling for security. But I was faster. Good evening, everyone, I said. My voice boomed through the speakers. Thank you all for coming to celebrate this arrangement. The crowd murmured. Arrangement? Most of you know me as Maya, the lucky girl who swept Liam Sterling off his feet. You know me as the simple girl from a poor background who hit the jackpot. I paused. I made eye contact with Mr. Sterling. He looked sweaty. But there are a few things you do not know. And since we are all family here, I think it is time for some honesty. I pulled a small remote out of my clutch. The Sterlings are wonderful people, I continued. They are so generous. For example, did you know that while their company, Sterling Global, has been reporting record losses, Mrs. Sterling spent $200,000 on vacations in the last 6 months? I clicked the remote. The massive projection screen behind the band, which was displaying a slideshow of Liam and me, flickered. Suddenly, it changed. It was a bank statement. A massive, blown-up image of the Sterling corporate account transferring funds to a personal travel agency. The crowd gasped. I saw Mrs. Sterling freeze. And Liam, I said, looking down at him. He was pale. My loving fiancé. He has been so busy working late nights at the office. Or at least, that is what he told me. Click. The screen changed again. It was a series of text messages. Sender, Liam. Receiver, Vanessa. Message, I cannot wait to get rid of this peasant girl. Once the merger happens, she is gone. Just gotta fake it for a few more weeks, baby. The room erupted. People were whispering, pointing, taking photos with their phones. Vanessa looked like she wanted to vomit. Liam looked like he had been punched in the gut. But that is not the best part, I said, raising my voice over the noise. You see, the Sterlings invited me into their home because they thought I was poor. They thought I was weak. They thought they could use me as a placeholder until a better offer came along. I took a step forward to the edge of the stage. They thought I was a charity case. But they did not check who I really was. Click. The screen changed to a Forbes article. It was a profile piece from 2 years ago. The headline read, "The Silent Billionaire, How Maya Thorne Built a Tech Empire at 23." The photo was me, looking sharp in a business suit, standing in front of my headquarters in Silicon Valley. I heard the collective intake of breath. Mrs. Sterling grabbed her husband's arm to steady herself. I am not the charity case, I said. I am the bank. And unfortunately for you, the bank is closing your accounts. I signaled to the back of the room. The doors swung open. 4 police officers walked in, followed by 2 agents in suits with FBI windbreakers. Mr. Sterling, Mrs. Sterling, I said into the microphone. I believe these gentlemen would like to have a word with you about embezzlement, wire fraud, and the misappropriation of employee pension funds. I handed over all the evidence this morning. Panic broke out. Mr. Sterling tried to run toward the side exit, but an officer blocked him. Mrs. Sterling started screaming, pointing at me. You witch. You planned this. You deceived us. I just smiled. I did not deceive you, Mrs. Sterling. I just let you be yourselves. And you hung yourselves with your own rope. The police were handcuffing Mr. Sterling. He was shouting about his lawyers. Liam was standing there, paralyzed. He looked at the police, then at his parents, then up at me. Maya, he stammered. Maya, wait. Baby, please. I did not mean those texts. It was just talk. You know I love you. We can fix this. You have money. We can be a power couple. Just tell them to stop. I looked at him with pure pity. It was sad, really. Even now, he thought he could charm his way out of it. I walked down the stairs from the stage and stopped right in front of him. I was taller than him in my heels. I am not your baby, Liam. And we are not a couple. Oh, and one more thing. I reached into my purse and pulled out a piece of paper. I shoved it into the breast pocket of his expensive tuxedo. That is the bill for the last 6 months. The rent for the room I stayed in, the food I ate, and the emotional distress. Since you guys are broke, I figure you can work it off in prison. I turned around and walked toward the exit. The crowd parted for me like the Red Sea. Cameras were flashing everywhere. I could hear Mrs. Sterling sobbing as she was led away in handcuffs. As I reached the door, I paused and looked back one last time. The engagement party was ruined. The Sterling reputation was dead. And I had never felt better. I walked out into the cool night air. David was waiting by the curb with the door to my Rolls-Royce open. "Did you have fun?" he asked as I slid into the leather seat. I leaned back and kicked off my heels. "Yeah," I said. "It was a blast. Now take me to get a cheeseburger. I am starving." The cheeseburger tasted better than any filet mignon I had ever eaten. I sat in the back of the Rolls, watching the city lights blur past, scrolling through social media on my real phone. The video of the engagement party was already viral. Someone had live-streamed the whole thing. It had 5 million views in 2 hours. The hashtag the placeholder was trending, with people sharing their own stories of being used and undervalued. I was not just a viral moment, though. I was a woman on a mission. The Sterlings were in handcuffs, but the mess they left behind was massive. The next morning, I did not sleep in. I did not hide. I put on a sharp gray power suit, grabbed a coffee, and headed straight to the Sterling Global headquarters. The atmosphere in the building was like a funeral. People were crying at their desks. They had seen the news. They knew the owners were in jail for fraud. They knew the pension fund was gone. They thought they were all out of a job. I walked into the lobby. The receptionist, a sweet older lady named Brenda who had always sneaked me extra cookies when I came to visit Liam, looked up. Her eyes were red and puffy. "Maya?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Or Miss Thorne? I saw the news. I am so sorry about how they treated you. And I guess I should pack my things. The police were here earlier seizing files." I leaned over the desk and took her hand. "Brenda, do not pack a single box. Call a meeting. Everyone in the conference room. Now." 10 minutes later, I stood at the head of the long mahogany table where Mr. Sterling used to scream at his subordinates. The room was packed. 70 employees looked at me with fear and confusion. They knew I was the one who blew the whistle. They probably thought I was there to gloat. I looked around the room. I saw the fear in their eyes. These were real people with mortgages and kids. They were the victims, just as much as I was. "Listen up," I said. My voice was steady. "You all know what happened last night. The Sterlings are done. They stole from the company, they stole from the investors, and worst of all, they stole from you. Your pension fund is empty." A woman in the back sobbed loud and hard. A man next to her put his arm around her. However, I continued, raising my voice slightly. "I did not just expose them to watch everything burn. I know this company has good bones. I know you guys do good work despite the leadership." I motioned to David, who was standing by the door. He handed me a stack of folders. "As of this morning, my holding company, Thorn Tech, has purchased the controlling debt of Sterling Global. We are not liquidating. We are restructuring." The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. "I am firing the entire executive board," I said. "Anyone who knew about the fraud is gone. But for the rest of you, your jobs are safe. And as for the pension fund..." I paused, looking directly at the woman who was crying. "I am replenishing it personally. Every cent that was stolen will be back in your accounts by Friday, with interest." For a second, nobody moved. Then, the room exploded. People were cheering, crying, and hugging each other. Brenda ran up and hugged me so hard I almost lost my balance. It cost me millions, sure. But looking at their faces, it was worth every penny. I had the money. I did not need a yacht. I needed to sleep at night knowing I did the right thing. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, press conferences, and restructuring meetings. I was the new face of ethical business. The media loved the story. The billionaire undercover. It was the ultimate revenge story, but I spun it into a story about accountability. But I had one last loose end to tie up. 3 weeks after the party, I went to the county jail. The visitation room was cold and smelled like bleach and despair. I sat on one side of the thick glass partition. A few minutes later, the door on the other side buzzed open. Liam walked in. He looked terrible. His perfect hair was greasy and flat. He had dark circles under his eyes that looked like bruises. He was wearing an orange jumpsuit that was 2 sizes too big. He sat down and picked up the phone. I picked up mine. "Maya," he said. His voice was cracked. "Hello, Liam," I said. "You look great," he said, staring at my diamond earrings. "Look, Maya, I know you are mad. I get it. I was a jerk. But you have to help me. My parents, they are blaming everything on me. They are saying I orchestrated the shell companies. I did not know the details, Maya. I just signed what they told me to sign." I leaned forward. "I know, Liam. I gave the FBI the emails. They know your father was the mastermind. You were just the useful idiot." He flinched at the word. "So you will help me?" he asked, hope sparking in his eyes. "You can pay for a better lawyer? The public defender is a joke. If you help me, I can testify against them. We can cut a deal. And then, maybe when I get out." He trailed off. He actually thought there was a chance. He actually thought that after everything, I would still want him. It was almost impressive how delusional he was. "Liam," I said softly. "I am not here to bail you out. I am here to say goodbye." "But why?" he asked, his voice rising. "You have billions, Maya. This is pocket change to you. We had something. I know I messed up with Vanessa, but she meant nothing. You were the one I came home to. I came home to a house where I was treated like a servant," I said. "You did not love me, Liam. You loved that I was quiet. You loved that I was cheap. You loved that I made you feel superior because you thought you were better than me." I stood up. "I just wanted you to know that I bought the estate," I said. His eyes went wide. "Our house?" "It is not your house anymore," I said. "The bank foreclosed on it yesterday. I bought it this morning. I am going to bulldoze it." "What?" he gasped. "You cannot do that. That is my childhood home. I am turning the land into a community center and a park for the employees you ripped off," I told him. "It is going to be named after Brenda." I hung up the phone. Liam started slamming his hand against the glass, shouting something I could not hear. The guard stepped in and pulled him back. I watched as he was dragged away, kicking and screaming like a toddler who lost his toy. I felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just relief. It was finally over. I walked out of the jail and into the sunshine. The paparazzi were waiting by the gate, but I ignored them. I got into my car and told David to drive. "Where to, boss?" he asked. "Home," I said. "The real one." 6 months later, the dust had settled. Mr. and Mrs. Sterling were sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. Liam got 8 years for conspiracy and fraud. Vanessa Vanderbilt publicly claimed she was a victim too, but the internet did not buy it. She was cancelled, lost her brand deals, and faded into obscurity. As for me, I went back to work. But I changed. I stopped hiding. I realized that my wealth was not something to be ashamed of, but it was not my identity either. My identity was in how I treated people. One Friday evening, I was at the new community center we had built on the old Sterling estate. It was opening day. Kids were playing on the jungle gym, teenagers were playing basketball on the new courts, and families were having picnics on the grass where the sterile, cold mansion used to stand. I was sitting on a bench, watching the sunset. "Mind if I sit here?" a voice asked. I looked up. It was a guy in a hoodie and jeans. He looked familiar. It was Mark, one of the junior accountants from Sterling Global. He was one of the people I had kept on. "Go ahead," I said. He sat down and unwrapped a sandwich. "You know," he said, looking out at the park. "My dad worked for Sterling for 30 years. When the pension fund vanished, he had a heart attack from the stress." I felt a pang of guilt. "I am so sorry, Mark. Is he okay?" "He is great," Mark smiled. "Because of what you did. You restoring the funds saved his life. Literally. He just retired last week. He bought a boat. He is going to fish for the rest of his life." He looked at me. "We all know you could have just walked away, Maya. You could have destroyed them and left us to rot. But you stayed. That matters more than the money." "Thanks, Mark," I said. "That means a lot." We sat there for a while in comfortable silence. "So," he said, taking a bite of his sandwich. "Rumor has it you are single now." I laughed. It was a genuine, belly laugh. "Yeah," I said. "I am. But I think I am going to stay that way for a while. I am enjoying my own company." "Smart," he said. "But if you ever want to get a burger that costs less than $5 and definitely is not fancy, let me know. I know a spot." I looked at him. He did not know I was a billionaire. No, everyone knew now. He knew exactly who I was. And he was asking me for a burger anyway. Not because I was rich, and not because he thought I was poor and desperate. But because we were just two people sitting on a bench. "I might take you up on that," I said. I watched him walk away to join a pickup basketball game. I took a deep breath of the fresh air. The nightmare with the Sterlings felt like a lifetime ago. I had played their game, and I had won. But the real prize was not the revenge. It was not seeing them in jail. The real prize was sitting here, in a park built on the ruins of their greed, knowing that I had turned something ugly into something beautiful. I looked down at my hands. No engagement ring. No heavy expectations. Just me. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough. I stood up, brushed the dirt off my pants, and walked toward the basketball court. "Hey," I yelled out. "I bet $100 I can make a three-pointer in heels." Mark turned around and grinned. "You are on, boss." I took the ball, lined up the shot, and let it fly. Swish. Nothing but net.